And just to add to that, Ram, is whenever you remodel, you have to think about when you sell.
Well, welcome back to the Cornerstone Realtor Team podcast. Today, we're going to talk about interest rates. It's a hot topic. You can get some real emotions going when you talk about interest rates because things have changed from 2021 till now. Interest rates have almost doubled, if not more. So the question is, and a question that we always get, Jamil, is do I give up my 3% mortgage? A lot of people during the pandemic time, rates were really down to stimulate the economy and they refinanced into 2.5%, 3%. I have a neighbor that has 1.98, and when I talk to them and they're telling me they're thinking about selling, always the drawback is, do I give up this low interest rate? And so it keeps a lot of families locked in to their home because giving up that low rate means a lot to them. If they go to a different house, they're almost doubling, or sometimes if you have a 2%, you're tripling your rate. So that's the question that we're breaking down today. So let's start.
So the question is, why is this so emotional, right? You're tied to a 3% financial asset and your mortgage is 3%, and homeowners, they refinanced. It was like a refi boom in 2021, and the monthly payments decreased significantly across the country, and right now many homeowners feel locked in. And you know how your kids say locked in all the time? They're locked in like to the rate, right? So moving now, it just feels financially painful because they're going to go from 3.5 to 6. And that's a big change.
Right.
5 years ago, homeowners optimized for their lifestyle. So they got the bigger house at the 3 or 3.5% interest rate or even lower. And, they got their big houses and now they're just locked in and they don't know what to do. An $800,000 loan at 3 or 3.5% versus 6.5 or 6, that's double. That's a double payment right there. Double the payment, and the monthly payment is huge. So the fear of losing out is why it's so emotional. The fear of losing, having anxiety around, the wrong market or the right market. It is emotional. You got this low interest rate, but then if you buy, you're in a higher interest rate. And what if the market goes down? It's all these thoughts come into your mind. So the real question is, should I move? Is moving the money, and I know the government had that idea where you could move your mortgage, and I thought that was great, but how would it work? What would it look like? However, what we always tell people is, if your lifestyle calls for it to move, then it's a good decision because you have family, you have maybe work-related things, or something comes up, you have more kids, so you might have to make the move and bite the bullet. So you need to take the emotion out of that and put your logical head on and say, does this logically make sense for my family? Can I afford it? The good thing is you save more on taxes, so you'll see some more savings in your taxes because you're paying more interest. So,
right. And your question is, are people still moving? Well, here's the reasons why people still move. Yes, some people are noticing that inventory has shifted too. We have a lot more houses on the market. People are moving, and here's some of the reasons. Families outgrow their home. Maybe you bought your first home, you had a kid, now you have 3, and it doesn't fit anymore. So outgrowing the home. God forbid, divorce or separation issues in marriage. Aging parents. Some people tend to move closer to their aging parents to take care of them. So there's lifestyle changes that force a move. Maybe when you bought a house, your kids were very little, but now you feel like the school district doesn't have your priorities, or it's not the right district for your children. So people move for better schools and shorter commutes. Like we talked about in earlier podcast, Some people don't want to be on the freeway for an hour and a half. They want shorter commute. Or downsizing after kids leave. We have a lot of our sellers now. They've lived in the communities for a while. Their kids have gotten older. They went to college. They got married. They live away. So now they're two people living in a 4,000 square foot home. It doesn't make sense anymore. Lifestyle priorities shift. And that's why people end up giving up their 2.5–3%. Lower interest rate doesn't solve a home that no longer fits your lifestyle. If you're paying 2.5–3 and the house is too big and maintenance is too high and you're not using but one bedroom, it doesn't fit anymore. Some owners have other needs. They want office space. There's some houses with ADUs that they want, maybe to bring in an elderly parent to live with them. Some people, they want larger yards. They love the outdoors. They want a bigger yard or multi-generational layout, like having a nice junior suite on the first floor for aging parents that have to live in the home with you. Some empty nesters, they don't want the maintenance anymore. They want a house with a less maintenance. Or they want to take their equity out, maybe move out of state, move to a cheaper area, relocate closer to family. Maybe they've been here for 10–15 years working at their job and now they're retired. They want to be closer to their family and have more quality time with their family. So sometimes the most expensive decision is staying somewhere where it no longer works for your lifestyle. And we mentioned some of these lifestyle changes. So if the home doesn't work for you anymore, what can you do? That's why people are selling, even with lower rates that they have on their mortgage currently.
The question is, should you keep your home as a rental? We get that question all the time. And the reason is because you have a 3% mortgage or even lower, and it's just too valuable, right? It's almost free money if you look at it that way. But you could turn your home into your current home into a rental. It does offset the new mortgage if you do that. You get long-term appreciation, and there are tax benefits to having a rental property, like depreciation. So, why many homeowners are becoming landlords accidentally? Because they have a low payment, and they can get positive cash flow out of it, and it builds wealth, right? Having a rental helps you build wealth. The challenges are property management, maintenance, tenant risk of damaging the property, and it's harder to qualify for a second mortgage if you need the money. So you'll have more debt to deal with if you buy another home, but you can offset that with some rents. So talk to your lender, CPA, your financial planner. You got to look at all the tax benefits. I know for sure if you do make your home a rental and buy a new home, you could do that for a couple of years and then sell it as a primary, because the law is if you've owned it in the last 5 years and it was a primary 2 years out of the last 5, it's still considered a primary home. So you could not pay taxes on that, up to $500,000 for a married couple. But keeping the home always isn't the right answer. It's not for everybody. So you have to see what's better for you and your family. Is it better to take the money out and sell it and buy the other house and have less debt? Because remember, if you do that, you're saving 6% on the new mortgage. Yeah, you're saving on the old one, but you're also saving 6% on the new mortgage. So you gotta look at it that way.
Yeah, there's many ways to look at it, but here's another thing that a lot of homeowners are doing. They're moving to remodel the house that they're in versus moving. And there's some positives and there's negatives to that. Remodeling can preserve your low mortgage. You get to keep your rate, spend some money, kind of create what you want in the house. But renovations are also expensive. They're not as cheap as people think. You know, you try to get a quote from a contractor and you get shocked. Not every floor plan can be fixed. Sometimes the floor plan just doesn't work. It's hard to fix that which is load-bearing walls and moving walls. It doesn't always work. And one of the major things that we see that people over-improve for the neighborhood. You got the neighborhood that has 1,500 square feet all around, and you go pop another 1,500. Now you have a 3,000 square foot in a neighborhood that does not work. So it's not conducive for you to spend that kind of money in that neighborhood. Common projects that people tend to do, which is additions. You know, they look into adding rooms if need instead of moving, or doing a kitchen remodel. Maybe they don't like the way the kitchen is outdated. Adding an ADU, if you have a larger lot, you can put an ADU in the back to create more space, maybe for that older child or that working child. Garage conversions, we've seen those happen where people tend to say, hey, you know what, I don't need to park my car in the garage, I'll just convert it to more living space. But here's the hidden costs of improving. Permits. Because anything you do, you need to get a permit for it. And especially when you go to the market to sell it, the buyer's going to ask, was this done with permits? Permits have delays. Cities have delays. Sometimes the red tape is huge in different cities. Like we talked about contractor pricing. Contractors are not cheap at all. An important question is to ask, are you improving the home or forcing it to become something that it isn't? Which is very important. It will affect your resale value. So you got to ask yourself, would I buy this current home that I'm in, or is it because I live there, I have it? So you got to think like a buyer, what a buyer would look at. So it's very important to think about all these points before making a decision.
And you know, just to add to that, Ram, is whenever you remodel, you have to think about when you sell. Think about, is it usable? Am I going to have to convert it back? You know, a loft to a bedroom to a loft, anything on the outside that you do. Think of when you sell it, is that going to bring you value? And your agent is a good person to ask. But how to actually decide if, you know, to rent it or to remodel it or to sell it. And it's pretty easy. Take the emotions out and put the pencil to the pad, right, and do the math. You got to do the math. Take the emotion out of it. Compare the costs monthly and realistically. Make sure you do that. Pencil it out. Think of everything that you can come up with, and evaluate the quality of life improvements. Right? Maybe you save an hour a day in commute. Well, what does that add up in gas? What does that add up in time? What could you do with that hour? Could you go to the gym? Could you become more healthy? What can you do? Right. Understanding the long-term wealth impact, right? How much would you save? How much would it cost? Evaluate that. Really think about it and consider it. And then just avoid making an emotional decision because you want something, you know? Just look at it. If you can afford it, great, go get it. If you can't afford it, maybe you wait and you remodel. It just depends on where you're at. Okay, so some questions to ask. Does this home still support our next 5 to 10 years? What problem are we actually trying to solve? Right? Are you trying to get closer to work? Are you trying to get away from work? Are you trying to move work to home? Can remodeling realistically solve our problem? Adding a bedroom on the outside, adding an ADU. What would moving improve? Right? So you can sit and ask yourself these questions, you and your family. What financial stress would moving create? Or would it decrease stress? So a mortgage rate loan should not dictate your entire life. And like we said in the beginning, it's all about your lifestyle. It's not about rate all the time. If it can improve your life, then you should do it. Ignoring the financial impact is very dangerous. And run scenarios, like do scenario 1, 2, 3 and see what that looks like for you. And discuss it, call your agent. Give us a call if you don't have an agent. We can help you break it down and go over, because we've done this time again with people. So buy before you sell, rent versus own, or a hybrid option. I think those are good things to talk about with your family. If you need a professional, we're here to help you.
And you should not be locked into the 3% mindset. 3% mortgage is incredible value. but your life, your family, your goals, and your future matters too. So one of the smartest homeowners are asking, should I keep my rate? They're asking the question. They're playing with the different thoughts, different scenarios, like Jamil was saying. They're asking what decisions that I make today is the best financial decision and the personal decision for me and my family over the next 10 years. So you got to ask yourself all these questions. But like Jamil said, we're here to help, and reach out to us. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We put out these podcasts every week. It's information for you to understand. It's always good to get knowledge before you make decision and get the right advice. Don't go to your cousin. Don't go to somebody that's not in the market. Hire a professional. Reach out to a professional, and we're here and happy to help. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.
We appreciate you watching. Have a great day.